Hey, this is Waylon from Swiftwood Bows, and today I'm going to show you how I fletch an arrow. So in the previous videos we've already prepared our shaft by carving our self-knock, and we have split and ground and trimmed our fletching to be ready to put on the shaft. And so the last step is to fletch the arrow. So first I want to show you everything that we're going to need for the job. So we're going to need our shaft. I recommend doing any of the staining and painting and stuff like that that you're going to do on the shaft before you do the fletching. So let's talk about glue. This is where I deviate a little bit from the primitive aspect. I've used hide glue in the past. It works great. I totally recommend it if that's the direction you want to go. Since I've been selling my arrows, I want to make sure that they are a little bit more weatherproof and bulletproof. So I've been using Titebond 3, but feel free to choose whichever you'd like to use, and really the process is going to be about the same if you're familiar with using hide glue. But I'm going to use this Titebond 3 because it's pretty much waterproof, and it makes the process go a little bit more easy. It's good to have some scissors and a knife on hand. We've got our feathers that are all cut and prepared. Got a ruler, pencil. I've got a few strands of sinew. You can see about how big and long they are. I've got one in my mouth too. I'll show you in a minute what we do with those. So for one arrow, I need two that are about this length and a shorter one like this. And then I have a length of bowstring material that's waxed. Artificial sinew can work as well. I'll show you what we do with that in a little bit. This should be everything that we need. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is pop a couple of these longer strands of sinew in my mouth. I've already got one in there getting ready. I'm going to stick this other one in there. I like to chew up my sinew. I feel like the saliva really helps to break it down and make it soft and pliable and help it stick. If that doesn't appeal to you, you're welcome to soak it in water, I guess, but if you want to do the primitive experience, you got to chew your own sinew, in my opinion. Alright, while I'm working on that, I'm going to mark where I want the top of my fletching to be, which is about 1 inch down from the throat of the knock. That'll give your fingers plenty of space here to hold the arrow. Alright, I'm going to take a piece of sinew that's ready here and start putting the feathers on here. I'm going to stretch this out and make sure there's no knots in it or anything. Perfect. Okay, I like to hold my arrow under one knee and on top of the other leg, and it helps keep it steady so that my hands can work. Find the fatter end of the sinew, and I'm going to put it right underneath the quill. And I'm going to put the feathers starting here at this line, not the end of the quill. So I'm going to wrap around once, and that should hold that down tight. Now this is my cock feather. I'm going to have it lined up with the top edge of my arrow. I rotate it a little bit, holding the sinew tight, and I'm going to slip this next feather under, making sure that it's lined up. I'm roughly trying to split the difference so that these are all um, evenly spaced. But I'm going to come back and check here in just a second. Turn it on end like this and look down it and really take a moment to get everything lined up just right. Looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to keep wrapping around these pieces of quill that are sticking up, trying to keep it nice and even, clean looking. Just because it's primitive doesn't mean it needs to look sloppy. So it should look out like that. Check your spacing again while you still have some wiggle room. Now, just going to get a little bit of glue on my finger and just going to coat pretty liberally, but without making big pools or puddles. I'm just going to soak that sinew with the Type On 3. Try not to get it on the feathers. Get a little bit on there, it's not the end of the world. Now, one material that I forgot to show you before was a little paintbrush. I really like using the paintbrush for putting the glue on the edge of the feather. You can use your finger, you can use the bottle, but I found this to be a lot less messy. So I'm just going to put a nice fat bead of glue along the ground edge of the feather here. I'd like to give some credit to Ryan Gill of Gill's Primitive Archery. I've had a lot of different influences for my arrow making, but watching Ryan's video really helped me kind of refine my technique a little bit. Definitely recommend going to his YouTube channel and checking out some of his work. He's the one I got this idea to use the tight bond from, and I think it works pretty darn well if you're willing to compromise your primitive ideals a little bit. Carson Brown of Echo Archery also has a really good arrow fletching video. He's somebody that I learned from early on. Okay, so I've got the glue on each of the feathers. Now I'm going to take this other piece of sinew and just like the first one, I'm going to stick it under the first one and then wrap over the top, go all the way around once. And now I really want to take a moment to make sure that they're all pulled down tight and that they are all evenly spaced and as straight as I'd like them to be. This is my chance to get them right. That looks pretty good, but you can tweak them if you need to. And so then just come nice and tight around and around. Now you want to have a big enough piece of sinew, especially for this bottom one, that you can cover the ends of the quills completely. This will make the arrow a lot safer so that you're not getting cut if you're shooting off your hand. that. It's okay if you've got a gap here, as long as it's pulled tight. We're gonna wrap that up here, and it's gonna hold it down tight. So before I do that, I'm just gonna get some glue and coat that pretty liberally. Now, I'm going to take this this bowstring material and just kind of get it started wrapping down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to start working my way up the shaft through the feathers, and this is just to hold the fletching down tight onto the shaft. Keep an eye on the spacing, make sure that the fletchings are kind of equidistant from each other and staying straight. Now this is just a temporary binding, so you don't have to make it look perfect. The main goal is just to evenly hold the fletchings down on the shaft. Now there are fletching styles that use a permanent wrap here to hold things down. You can either use sinew or some kind of like silk thread or something like that. But for this style that I'm showing you, we're going to remove this after the glue is dry. Just wrap it off at the top so it stays in place. So it should look something like that. Now you see all those beads of glue on there? We don't want those to dry like that. So I'm going to come back with my brush and just wipe those off and spread them out. So it looks good. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit for, I don't know, about 20 minutes or so. I usually do a couple more arrows like this while this one's drying, and by the time I'm done with about 2 more, I'm ready to move on to the next step. You just want to make sure that the glue is good and set. It doesn't necessarily have to be completely dry. We just don't want these fletchings to pull off the shaft when we take the binding off. Alright, it's been about 20 minutes. I'm going to take this off. Sometimes there's still a little bit of texture here where the glue was. I like to clean that up with my knife. Careful not to knock your fletching off. Alright. I've got this little short piece of sinew here. I'm going to pop that in my mouth and get it soft. We're going to do just a little wrap right here at the base of the knock, just to reinforce the wood here, to prevent the string from splitting the shaft. Okay, I've got my sinew here. I'm just going to do a simple wrap, making sure to stay below the edge of the throat so that the string's not cutting into the actual sinew. It's just there to reinforce the wood. Doesn't take much. About like that. Now, I'm going to take my wood glue and my paintbrush, and I'm just going to go over this whole area with another layer. I like to get inside the knock. Make sure to coat the sinew that you just put on. You can be pretty liberal, just make sure that it's not so much that it's pooling and dripping. It dries pretty smooth. I'm going to go down between all the fletchings here. Careful not to get glue all up on the feathers. Glue anywhere. That's what it should look like when you're done with the glue. I'm going to let this glue dry, and then I'll show you the final product. The glue's pretty much dry. Sorry, I'm going to have to talk over the leaf blower in the background there. It's the bane of every outdoor YouTuber's existence. Hope you can hear me. So, turned out pretty nice. There's a couple little glue lumps in there that I'm not happy about. I might go try to trim those out, but otherwise, turned out pretty nice. Got a nice consistent helical pattern there. So one of the last things I need to do here is trim up the feathers a little bit more. They're a little uneven and still kind of bulky. So, I don't know if you can see, I like to get rid of this bit out here at the end that just makes noise. So I kind of establish an angle about like that. And then I just eyeball it. And there's no one fletching shape that you have to stick by. All different kinds of styles out there. But I like this one. Works pretty well for me. So that arrow is finished. Once it gets a tip on it and some finish on the shaft, it will be ready to go. When I finish it, I just finish the bare shaft down here. I just leave this tight bond up here. Does just fine, and I don't have to worry about slopping any kind of finish up here on the feathers. But you don't want to glue all this stuff down onto a finished shaft. So it's a little different than kind of traditional arrows where they finish the whole shaft and then you glue the fletching onto the shaft. The wood glue will peel off of that, so you want to do all that on the bare shaft. Well, that's how I fletch my arrows. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful. I know there was a lot of little details there, so if you missed something or you weren't sure about something, please let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks for watching, and take care.